Hello once more, this is Steve and I'm back with an additional review on the latest Marvel Hero Titans for the 2018. This time I'm going to be just covering some of the ladies that were released in the Titans. So far I have shown in one of my previous videos the Black Widow based on the comics that came out about a year or two ago. After that there was also a couple of other female figures from Marvel Universe, and some of them showed up in the movies such as Avengers, Infinity War, and Ant-Man and Wasp, and some were specifically from the Spider-Man cartoon series and from the upcoming Spider-Man movie that's coming out in December, Into the Spider-Verse, which some of you may be already familiar with because the trailer was already out. But I will start talking about Wasp. Wasp was never really made before into a figure, and now she got her turn in the spotlight. And this is her costume, how she would look in the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. In the comics, her costume doesn't look anything like this. She does not wear a helmet, for one thing. You can actually see her face. But since this is a movie interpretation of a costume, so it looks more high-tech, and it looks more along the lines of Iron Man's armor. She doesn't come with any accessories. She does come, because she doesn't really use any weapons, she comes with these gauntlets that are molded onto her wrists, one on each side, from where she, through them and through her hands, she would release these blasts of energy at the enemies. And of course, her major power is that she can shrink to a very small size, into a very small size wasp, and she can still release. In the comics, she releases laser energy from her hands, and in the movies, in the movie, it's something similar along those lines. But she's mostly relying, at least in the movie, from the certain parts of the movie, she relies on her physical ability to punch the enemy when they cannot see her, and so forth. But when it comes to the figure itself, for example, you cannot remove the helmet. It's molded right on, so there is no way of removing it. She does come with the same compartment that I've been mentioning in my previous video, where you can hook, it's a rectangular opening where you can hook the Iron Man's red knapsack and make her talk, so she would say some of the lines she said in the movie. She also comes with the detachable pairs of wings, two larger ones and two smaller ones that are to be attached at the back in each corner, right around on each corner of the actual rectangle itself. So this is how the wing looks like. Nothing really special, it's just more looks like a high-tech wing, and it has a peg. Each of them has a peg at the end, and there is a hole on every corner, so you would just firmly press the wing and the peg itself. The peg itself, you would press it into the hole, and that way it would attach. Now I would like to give a word of warning that even if you push it really hard for the wing to or the peg to fit just right and to be a tight fit, it usually isn't. At least in my case, the wings can easily fall off for some strange reason, maybe because it wasn't meant to be a tight hold once you push them in. But if any of you want a permanent fit for these wings, for they simply stop falling out, then you may consider other ways to just sort of make them a tight fit. So if they're so loose, then they're very easy to lose, in the sense of when they're loosened up so much that they don't really stay on for a long time. So, but other than that, she has the articulation, as I've already been mentioning lately, that she can lift her arms sideways, typical like for any of the figures roughly from the end of 2017 and throughout 2018. That's an improvement, so they can also, she can also do a split. There we go, a complete split. And that would be Wasp. This is her first appearance in the Titans form, based on the movie, which is nice to see more of the female characters, who are also plentiful in Marvel Comics, at least in this size. I do know that some of these characters, including the Avengers, are also available in the collector line called the Marvel Legends, and they're not as big as this, they're 6 inches tall. So let's move on to the next figure from the Avengers Infinity, and this is also her first time appearance to be made as a Titan figure, and that would be Scarlet Witch. Now the Scarlet Witch here looks exactly the way she would look in the Avengers movie, part 2 and 3, the Age of Ultron and the Infinity War. However, if you're wondering if this is her original look outside comics, no it isn't, because in the comics she looks very different. Yes, she has still a red colored costume. In this case it's just a red coat, nothing too interesting, but in the comics she looks very different, but she also uses magic, just like in the movie. But that's another story, because I am kind of doubtful we'll see the Titan version of her the way she looks in the comics. So anyway, her hands are molded in, one of her hands is molded in such a way that it's sort of like an open hand. She's not really meant to hold any weapons anyway, because she relies on magic. And the fingers are molded in such a way that you could pretty much tell as if she's ready to release a spell of some sort. In her case, the coat is partially molded over her legs, as if it's the two pieces that cover her legs are not really molded together with the coat, so there is a bit of a break in between. But that doesn't stop her from moving her leg forward. She cannot move it backwards, again because of the type of plastic used for her coat, so she can only move it forward. And she can move about this much sideways, again because of the coat stopping the actual hips to do a split. So she cannot really do a split due to the design. She also has, of course, like most of the figures from the movie, she also has that compartment where you could put the knapsack and make her talk, so she would say some of the lines from the movie. In the Avengers Infinity War, and of course in the Avengers comics from long ago, she seems to have a romantic relationship with another Avenger called the Vision. And we have already seen Vision in Avengers Age of Ultron and in Avengers Infinity War. He is not all the way human, he's more like a humanoid android, or partially a robot of a sort, but for whatever reason he does seem to have human feelings, or he developed some such, maybe as his mind evolves, if he has one, and I'm sure he does, because he was made to be something in between a synthetic human being and an actual robot, so something in between. I couldn't quite tell in which of the categories he would belong. I would say he's a mix of the two. And Scarlet Witch here, she also has a brother who is a superhero, and her brother is called Quicksilver. He showed up in the Age of Ultron. At first she and her brother were bad guys, and then they joined the Avengers. Unfortunately her brother died, at least in the Age of Ultron he did, but in the comics they're still together, fighting for the Avengers. But the earliest history of Scarlet Witch and her brother goes way back to the early X-Men comics that came out many years ago, in the early days of Marvel, so around 1960s thereabouts. At the beginning, Scarlet Witch and her brother were actually kids and children of Magneto, and Magneto is a character from the X-Men. He's the main villain who controls anything made of metal and so forth with his magnetic power, because that is his major power. And his son and daughter also, because of his genes, also ended up with particular powers to themselves. And in case of Scarlet Witch, although she's known under her human aliases, Wanda Maximoff, and the last name of Magneto was also Maximoff. In those early comics, she and her brother were serving under their father to fight against X-Men. Later on, they realized the error of their ways in the comics, and then they joined the Avengers instead. The other thing I can tell you about Quicksilver, who was made before into a Titan figure during the Iron Man 3 movie, and he came with a War Machine and Iron Man in a big 3-pack. Unfortunately, I missed him because he was never available as a single figure. But at least to mention this much, that her brother has the ability and power to run really fast. So he's kind of an equivalent of Flash from DC Comics. In the movie, she's the only one who remains between the two of them because, as I already mentioned earlier, her brother died saving some people in the Age of Ultron, part 2 of Avengers movie. And they're both interesting characters, even though the costume is not really based on comics, but I suppose that doesn't really matter because this is just a movie interpretation of her. So that much I can tell you about Scarlet Witch. Now the next one I have is another female from the Infinity War, and that would be Black Widow. Of course, in the movie here, she doesn't even have a brown hair anymore. That's the first thing that's different. She actually has blonde hair, and it's shorter. Her hair, for a certain early Marvel movies, was actually long. Now it's a lot shorter. And she also comes with that electronic compartment to make her talk. Her arms, strangely enough, in her case, I noticed, she cannot put her arms sideways at all, not even a little bit. So she can only put her arms up and down and into a complete 360 circle. And her legs as well cannot do a split at all. And there is nothing really much, I don't think, that would stop it from happening, but for some reason, in her case, it's not possible. She cannot. So do not try to force her legs apart because she will break. In her case, for some reason, she's unable to do so. She comes with a little belt that goes around her waist, where she keeps some, I guess, cartridges for her weapons or things of that sort. But the belt is removable. She has her weapon gauntlets on each wrist, and in the comics and in the movies, she can actually shoot bullets from those wrists. She doesn't come with any guns, nothing of the sort. She doesn't even come with her glowing sticks that she uses in the Infinity War. So she comes with absolutely no weapons of any kind. So the only really weapon you can consider in her case are these bracelets. And these bracelets can be removed, so they're not molded on, so they could be removed. I actually have a tendency not to fiddle with that, so I leave her just the way she is. Her head can move left and right, at least not much, and the leg can move forward. But of course it cannot move backward again for the similar issue, such as Scarlet Witch, who has pretty much the same problem because of the way the plastic was molded on her body. She's simply unable to move her legs backwards, so she can only move them forward. She cannot turn in her waist. None of the Titan figures can do that. That's just a small detail I forgot to mention. Other than that, she looks alright, I guess, and this is the second version of her that was released in the Titans. The first version was a few years back, around 2016 to early 2017, thereabouts. She was released on with her classic long hairstyle and the dark outfit, and she also didn't have any weapons. If you check one of my other videos, you will see how she looked like based on comics, because I did several videos on the topics of the Marvel Hero Titans on my channel. So that's as far as it goes regarding Black Widow, or as she would use her real name, would be Natasha Romanoff. And the last two figures I'm going to cover, again ladies in question, and this time they're from Spider-Man Hero Titans. The first one that came out about roughly last year or earlier this year is a Spider-Girl, or at least one version of so many of them that exist in comics these days. This is not the classic Spider-Girl, this is just one variation from, I believe, a different dimension, so forth. She only has a mask covering her eyes, she has a long hair, and She can move her arms sideways about that much, and of course she can do a full split, no problem there. She comes with no weapons or attachments of any kind. She does, because, and I'm pretty sure that this figure is from early 2018, when it showed up roughly in the stores. She does have a rectangular compartment that is roughly going to be a norm for the Avengers figures and any future Spider-Man figures, that they will all have this, where, as already mentioned, you could put the knapsack and make her talk. So one of her hands is molded in the typical Spider-Man fashion, that she is about to shoot web at an enemy, and the other hand is just molded as a fist. So that would be Spider-Girl. And yet another Spider-Girl, and this one is actually more known than this previous one I talked about, would be Spider-Gwen. Now you're wondering who is, first of all, the girl who is under it with the name of Gwen. Her real name, at least in the universe, because the Marvel Comics at certain point divided that our Earth is not the only one, that there is so many alternate Earths and dimensions where Marvel heroes or people we know from our planet look and behave differently. Original idea of Gwen Stacy, which is her real name, that she used to be a girlfriend of Spider-Man in our world. And at some point, Green Goblin attacked Spider-Man, seeking revenge for Spider-Man always stopping him. And he ended up killing his girlfriend, meaning the Gwen Stacy. Spider-Man never forgave him for that, and he managed to have a final fight with Green Goblin in one of the older comics. But this particular Gwen Stacy is the same person with only one difference. She is not of this Earth, so she did not come back from the dead or anything. She is from an alternate universe, or as they call it, Spider-Verse. So in another Spider-Verse, Gwen Stacy is a Spider-Girl. In our world, she was an ordinary young woman attending university and so forth. But in this alternate universe, she has the power of a spider, and she is a Spider-Girl, and she has a particular kind of outfit, as you can see, black and white, and a very white mask and a white hoodie. She also has the compartment where you can hook that same knapsack I keep mentioning, so that she can talk. And this is the way she looks in the comics, and this is pretty much the way she looks in the cartoon as well. And this particular Titan figure, along with Miles Morales, an alternate version of Spider-Man, are both released in the Titan series, and from what I understand, they are mostly available in Walmart only. There might be other places, but from what I've been reading, they should be only available in Walmart stores. So in her case, she came in a typical rectangular packaging, but that it said somewhere on the bottom of the packaging itself that she's a Walmart exclusive. And she plays a part, an important part I understand, in the upcoming Spider-Man animated movie, Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse, that's coming out this December. And she is one of several people who have spider power, who will appear along with the classic Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man and a few other ones, where they all join forces from different dimensions to stop a bad guy, whoever the bad guy may be in the movie. So another thing to mention about her that I forgot to mention, that she is also used in yet another alternate reality, that she is a female version of Deadpool. And she is not called Deadpool, of course, because she's a lady, so she's called Gwenpool, using her name and just adding Pool at the end. Gwenpool is still Gwen Stacy, but yet another dimension, and the point with that version of her is that she did not make an appearance in the Marvel Hero Titans. It would be nice if one day she does, but for the moment this is the only representation of her. Spider-Girl, also known as Gwen Stacy. So that would be all as far as the ladies go so far. So it's interesting to see that now there is several female heroes that do exist in the comics and so forth, that some of them are making an appearance in the Titan series. that is a good thing to know. I wouldn't mind seeing She-Hulk and Invisible Woman from Fantastic Four and a couple of other ones. Of course, with the Invisible Woman, to see her in a Titan series would be a little bit more difficult because she's invisible, right? So that would be kind of difficult to see her as a toy altogether. That's my joke for today. That's it. That's it as far as this female Titans figures go. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't bore you to tears. And catch you guys later again with another review of whatever comes my way that I may pounce on to review next time. Catch you guys later. Bye.